Well, see, the problem is, is that we still are functioning under an old system which allowed for only a certain number of people to come from specific countries. So you have restrictions on the number of people that can be allowed into the country lawfully from different areas. And that's part of the problem. The other part of the other problem is that you have people who come here, many people who come here originally come here legally. They get a visa and then they overstay the visa. And so part of what happens is that the mechanisms for coming are limited. We like to say that the three ways that you can come as an immigrant are either through blood, sweat, or tears. Tears is as a person seeking asylum for persecution under, a terrible regime back home where if you don't leave, they're going to kill you, right? So the fear of persecution, coming to this country as a refugee, as an asylee, is the tears part. The sweat part is if you come as a worker, as an accepted worker, and with your H-1B visa to work in a category of accepted lawful workers, which is extremely limited. I'm afraid I don't have the numbers at hand, but they are very, very limited as to how many people can and usually these are much higher skilled workers. The workers who would come to Silicon Valley, for example, in the higher skilled capacities. So there's very little room for that kind of to be sponsored by an employer, to come, to have a place, to just all of those things. It's very, very limited. And then the other blood is the family. So blood is your ties to family. So if if I am a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen, naturalized citizen, then I can sponsor a family member to come. Mm-hmm. But again, that is only my immediate family, and is I can't extend that just out and out and out forever. But it's my immediate family, and they have to go through a process. So the ways that you can come here are very limited now, very narrow. People like to say, well, why don't those people just get in line? But there really isn't a line. Or what there are categories, and categories that have time, a lot of times have very extremely long waits. I mean, you can be waiting 10, even up to 20 years if you're an immigrant from Mexico or the Philippines, for example, which are two of the main countries where people want to come here. So, and the other thing is that if you're in a family here, let's say, and I heard a statistic not that long ago about how the great majority of undocumented immigrants or unauthorized immigrants who are here illegally in Los Angeles are people who have been here for 10 years or more. So we're talking about a community of people who has ties here. Many mixed status families where you have maybe one parent who's undocumented, another one who's a citizen, the kids are citizens, you might have a lawful permanent resident with a citizen, or a big mix-ups, but basically you have ties to the community. So I think that's part of it too, is that if you were to say to somebody, well, get in line, but you have to leave and you can't come back for 10 years, right? Yet you have ties here to the community, including U.S. citizen children. The system has made it very hard for people to have any reasonable alternative to pursue in order to be here legally. So I think that's part of the problem. And there's this huge draw. I mean, I think after Katrina was one really good example. There was such a huge draw for labor to the South after Katrina, and it was immigrants who were brought to do it. And many of them undocumented immigrants were brought by contractors because they could not find anybody else to go do to do that particular work, you know, in the cleaning up after Katrina. There were so many people displaced in the area, you know, residents displaced, who couldn't imagine working there at that moment because, you know, everyone was just scattered. So, I mean, that's a situation that you can see where there's a need for labor, there's a need for work, and, you know, where people can take full advantage of people coming here not lawfully, but they're greatly needed. So, you know, we have all these contradictions, and that's what I was talking about before, is without resolving those contradictions and that pull but you know, the pushed away, you have a system that just doesn't work right.